The council chambers of the Zalvarian Empire fell silent as Princess Lisa entered. Her crystalline skin shimmered under the bioluminescent ceiling, each step echoing her people's thousand-year legacy. The elders sat in their tiered seats, their ancient eyes reflecting centuries of wisdom, and now, desperation. The humans have agreed to the treaty, Elder Morpheus announced, his voice gravelly with age. But they demand a marriage bond. A human will wed into our royal line. Lisa's breath caught. Marriage to an alien species was unheard of, yet their empire stood on the brink of annihilation. The Crethean hordes had already consumed 3 neighboring systems. The Zalvarians needed allies, and humanity, despite being relative newcomers to the galactic stage, had proven themselves formidable. Who? Lisa asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. His name is Vin Diesel, a decorated warrior from Earth's Special Operations. Their government selected him personally. 3 months later, Lisa stood in the ceremonial hall, watching as Vin Diesel approached. He was nothing like she'd imagined. Where she expected a brutish soldier, she found a man whose dark eyes held unexpected depth. His muscular frame moved with controlled grace, and when he took her hand for the bonding ritual, his touch was surprisingly gentle. "I know this isn't what either of us wanted," Vin said quietly, his deep voice resonating through her. "But I'll honor this bond with everything I have." Lisa studied his face, searching for deception, but found only sincerity. "Then we stand together," she replied, "the wedding united to species, to worlds, to strangers bound by necessity." In the weeks that followed, Lisa discovered that Vin was more than a warrior. He spent evenings learning Zalvarian history, studied their customs with genuine interest, and treated her with a respect that transcended their arranged union. "Why did you agree to this?" Lisa asked one evening as they walked through the palace gardens, the twin moons casting silver light across the crystalline pathways. Vin was quiet for a moment. "Because peace is worth fighting for, and sometimes the greatest battles we fight aren't with weapons, but with bridges we build between worlds." Lisa felt something shift in her chest. This human, this stranger who'd become her husband, saw beyond the politics to something greater. Against all odds, she found herself falling for him. But peace, they would soon learn, required more than ceremonies and good intentions. The Crethean armada arrived without warning, tearing through the defensive perimeter like paper. 200 warships descended upon Alvaria Prime, their weapons carving scars across the planet's surface. The Zalvarian defense fleet, though brave, was hopelessly outmatched. "Fall back to the capital," Admiral Zexus commanded as another ship exploded on the view screen. "We can't hold them." In the palace war room, chaos reigned. Lisa watched the tactical displays with growing horror as red markers overwhelmed blue. Her people were dying. The alliance with humanity had come too late. Earth's reinforcements wouldn't arrive for weeks. "I need a ship," Vin said suddenly, his voice cutting through the panic. "What?" Lisa turned to him. "Vin, you're one man. What can you possibly? Trust me." His eyes met hers, and she saw something there that made her breath catch. Not fear, but absolute certainty. "Please, Lisa, trust me." Against every logical thought, she did. "Get him a fighter," she ordered. Vin kissed her once, fiercely. "I'll come back to you." What happened next would become legend across 100 worlds. Vin Diesel launched his small fighter into the heart of the Crethean fleet. The enemy commanders barely noticed the single craft, dismissing it as a desperate final gesture. They had no concept of what human determination truly meant. The first Crethean dreadnought fell when Vin executed a maneuver that defied physics, using the ship's own mass against it, targeting critical junctions with impossible precision. His fighter danced through weapons fire that should have vaporized him, each movement calculated. "Perfect, impossible," breathed Admiral Zexus, watching from the command center. He's alone against 200 ships, but Vin wasn't fighting like a man trying to win. He was fighting like a man with everything to lose. He turned the Cretheans' numbers against them, herding formations into positions where they risked hitting each other. He exploited every weakness in their ship's designs, knowledge gained from humanity's brief but intense study of captured vessels. When his weapons ran dry, he used debris as projectiles. When his shields failed, he made himself impossible to track. One by one, The Crethean ships fell. 10 became 20. 20 became 50. Lisa watched from the palace, her hands pressed against the viewing window, tears streaming down her crystalline face. This human, her husband, was single-handedly turning the tide of battle. The Crethean commander finally understood the threat and redirected the entire fleet toward the lone fighter. Every weapon turned toward Vin Diesel, but in that moment, as they focused everything on one target, they exposed themselves. The Zalvarian fleet, rallied by Vin's impossible stand, struck from behind with renewed fury. Civilian ships joined the fight. Even unarmed transports rammed enemy vessels, inspired by the human who refused to surrender. When the last Crethean ship exploded or fled into hyperspace, Vin's battered fighter limped back to the landing bay. Lisa ran to meet him, writhing as the cockpit opened. Vin climbed out, his body bruised and bleeding, his flight suit scorched. He smiled when he saw her. "Told you I'd come back." Lisa threw her arms around him, not caring about protocol or dignity. "You destroyed an army alone." "How?" "I wasn't alone," Vin said, holding her close. "I was fighting for you, for us. That's what humans do when we have something worth protecting. We don't know how to quit." In the aftermath, the galaxy learned a crucial lesson about humanity. They were not the strongest species, nor the most technologically advanced. But when a human found something worth fighting for, when they bonded themselves to a cause or a person, they became unstoppable. Lisa looked at her husband, this remarkable man who had come to her world as a political necessity and had become its savior. She'd married a human to secure peace, never imagining that the real security would come not from treaties, but from the unbreakable will of one man who loved her enough to face an army alone. "I love you," she whispered. Vin smiled, pulling her closer. "And I love you." That's the real human primacy, Lisa. Not our strength or tactics. It's that when we love, we do it with everything we are. The stars above bore witness to their embrace. A human and a Zalvarian, proof that the strongest alliances were forged not in council chambers, but in hearts willing to fight for each other against impossible odds.